You are listening to the Thriving Empire podcast with Stephanie Holland, episode 20. Welcome to the Thriving Empire podcast, where it's all about stabilizing the roller coaster of starting up so that you can launch your ideas with more passion, purpose, and vision. I'm your host, strategist, traveler, and coconut macaroon addict, Stephanie Holland. So let's get started. How's it going? Oh my gosh, I had an amazing morning. I didn't sleep well last night at all. I'm actually quite excited about a lot of stuff. And I did a meditation. Oh my gosh, have you discovered Insight Timer? It is so cool. So I did a meditation, but I was still really excited. And then I woke up at 5 a.m. So I just got up and wrote this podcast episode. And as soon as the sun came up, I went for a swim in the ocean. I had a coffee at my favorite cafe. It's actually the cafe in town that roasts the coffee next door that comes from the farm 2 hours away from here in the mountains. So it's really cool. It's just a usual morning for me, but it's so good. It never fails to excite me. So we are shifting into a brand new part of the podcast, which is really cool. The last 5 episodes, we talked about how to use failure, the results you don't want, as a tool to shape the future. So it was really about embracing all of your results, all of the feedback and circumstances, and using them as strategic fuel to guide your trajectory, your decisions, and your actions. And now we're moving into the final section of season 1, and it's all about building a freedom business. So what is a freedom business? It's another buzz term, right? Another buzz phrase. Well, here's what it isn't. It's not working 24/7, giving yourself a plum management role in your own life and work and feeling overwhelmed and on the verge of burnout. And it's not hitting every single revenue, profit, and income goal and still feeling dissatisfied. And actually therein, that's the huge clue to what we're going to focus on today. But actually a freedom business is a sustainable business that supports your vision of what a freedom life means and is to you. So how do we do that? How do we create a freedom business? Well, let's think about how we create a business in general. We start by creating products and services and offerings that serve a need, a desire, or a pain point of our audience, right? And hopefully we found a beautiful sweet spot between what we want to do and how we want to spend our time and what our audience can and want to pay us for. And then we structure our offering into a business model, plan, and strategy. And then we put processes and systems in place that help us launch it, help us run it like a well-oiled machine, and grow depending on your growth and scaling objectives. Now, a freedom business means that you build all of this around the life you want to create. Okay? You build it all around the vision of the life you want to create. Your life vision is the epicenter of your business formation. So having a vision for the life you really want first, before you start, is a freedom business imperative because it directly affects the goals you have for your business. The way you want to live will affect your business goals, including your revenue, profit, and income goals, which directly impact what kind of business you build, how you build it, and how you show up for it, right? A $2 million income goal is going to be, in terms of a $2 million income goal will inspire you to build a very different type of business than a $48,000 income goal, won't it? But here's the thing, and that was the second clue I gave you. You know, the number one way people derail themselves from building a freedom business is with giant income goals that have nothing to do with the life that they want to create. Even if a better life is the reason that they started up in the first place. Now, income goals, along with profit and revenue goals, are often these large disparate figures, often multiple 6 figures or multiple millions that are literally finger in the air amounts with no logic or reasoning or anything to do with what you truly want. Although they might have a little bit to do with what you think you want, okay? We talked about this in the last episode. $1 million mansions, first-class travel, Lamborghinis. Those are the things you think you want. But just take a moment right now to write down your income goal. So maybe it's a revenue goal or profit goal. Maybe you have all three. Write them down now. Or just hold it in your mind right now if you don't have a pen and paper handy. We'll come to that in a second. Now, when you have a clear vision for the life you want, whether it's over the next 12 months, whether it's a vision for 5 years' time or 10 years ahead, and then you calculate what that life will cost you, then you have a realistic income goal as your first milestone. And it is always, always, always less than you think. It is always less than multiple six figures and millions. In fact, I bet if I asked you to spend 1 million right now, you could not think of how to do that. I tried to do this once. My coach challenged me in a podcast of hers, actually. She's like, okay, grab a pen and paper. If you had $1 million right now, how would you spend it? And I could not think of how to spend it. And I even bought 3 houses with it in my 3 favorite locations. It was so funny. Now, when you know how much your real dream lifestyle will cost you, and then you set your incremental income goals accordingly, you'll likely be able to approach everything that you do in your life and work with a lot more passion, purpose, and vision, and also greater levels of ease and joy. Now, I gave you an outline of my perfect life in episode 3, which was called Extreme Focus. So here's what I said. When I think about the life I want to create, I want to be able to live in 3 countries a year. I want to live on the beach. I want to work with clients all over the globe, remotely, online, without a set schedule every week. I want a lot of variety in the way that I work. I want to have perfect papayas and avocados and access to local food markets. I want to live in nature, in the palm trees, be able to stretch on the beach at sunset, wake up at sunrise, sleep after sunset, hear the birds in the morning, see the stars at night, have a nurturing local community, and a handful of close, reliable, creative and entrepreneurial friends. That is my vision for my life. And that is the life I live right now every single day. And it really is powerful. And it changes everything I do in my life and work. It changes what products and services I create. It changes the price that I charge. It changes everything, and the model and the strategy and everything that I'm using to build my business is all informed by that vision of my life. And the fact that I'm living it right now takes all the stress and pressure out of my work, right? Yet most people skip this stage completely. So is it any wonder then that most of you have ended up or will end up creating another job for yourself instead of a freedom business, right? You're going to end up slaving away to hit income goals at the expense of everything else. Income goals that don't even matter to you because they're not going to help you create the life that you really want. So here's what I want to highlight in this episode. Your income goal can derail you from creating a freedom business. And yet it's really interesting because most of my clients come to me with staggering income goals, even if they are making no money at all right now, even if they only have $10,000 in the bank account and no business ideas and no product and service ideas. But here's the thing. I mentioned this already. If your goal is to generate $2 million a year in revenue, you're going to create a very different business model, strategy, and plan and work very differently and show up very differently than if you know your dream lifestyle right now will only cost you $48,000 a year. But when I ask my clients how much income they want to generate, they all say multiples in the millions. But listen, I was exactly the same. So when I did this exercise back in 2009, it changed my life. It was actually Tim Ferriss that inspired me to do this with the 4-hour work week. I discovered that all my living expenses and everything I wanted to do for the next 12 months would cost me $12,000. Only $12,000. And I was living in my own beachside apartment in up in an area close to the Great Barrier Reef in Queensland, Australia. It was absolutely beautiful. And I put in things like a trip to Kilimanjaro and studying Spanish and all this kind of stuff. And all of it only came to $12,000 for the year. I was gobsmacked. Now, that was the year I stopped working 12 months a year. My life changed completely. I realized that I only needed to work in the corporate world for 3 months a year to generate that amount in savings, which could mean I could start working on my own ideas, which is exactly what I did at the time. I started freelance writing for magazines in the UK, US, and Australia, and I was having the time of my life. I was studying magazine and newspaper writing with the Sydney Writers' Centre, which is now called the Australian Writers' Centre. And I was pitching to magazines. I was getting my pitches accepted, and I was being published in lifestyle magazines around the world. For the first time, I was actually free to talk about my passions, which at the time and still are health and well-being, food, herbs, essential oils, meditation, and yoga, which was a far cry from the media strategy work I was doing in the corporate world. Now, this was my first taste of my freedom life. And this is also the reason the freedom life vision is why we create a freedom business in the first place, right? Or why we create any business at all. We want to be living and working on our own terms. So realigning my income goal to what I actually wanted to do and experience and what that would actually cost changed my life. Now, here's a funny story. My former coach said that her clients always say, I'll be happy when I earn 6 figures. All I want to do is earn 6 figures in my coaching practice. And when they earn 6 figures, they then say, I'll be happy when I'm earning $500,000 a year, $500,000 a year. And when they get to the 500K mark, they say, I'll be happy when I'm earning 7 figures a year. And it never ends. They are never satisfied. Why? Because those goals, those income goals, don't matter at all if they're not aligned with what you truly want and they don't enable the life that you truly want. Because you're going to hit your income goals and you still won't have the life that you want. Either because you didn't align it with the life that you want, your income goals, or you didn't even think about the life that you want. But don't worry, in the next episode, episode 21, we are doing exactly that. We're going to create a vision for the life that you want. But anyway, when you hit your income goals, you still won't have the life that you want. And that is very unsatisfying, right? Because it's not aligned with what you truly want. Now, last November, a client of mine had a lifetime target of generating 100 million over the course of his business of a lifetime. Now, we actually did a pre-business strategy session together, followed by 3 months of coaching against his ideas. And his ideas about his income goals, what he wanted to generate in revenue for his business, and what he needed to live, they radically shifted. And so did his excitement and happiness, for his work at the same time, which was amazing to see. What he was doing and the impact he was creating in the world took on a lot more meaning during the course of our time together than that impossibly large, possible, but very large income goal. And his goals actually shifted from a future 100 million in revenue to a vibrant, exciting life and a way of working right now. And he has that now because he's claimed it for himself. It's as much to do with mindset as it is about literally stepping into the life that you want, which happens very quickly once you get that mindset. Now, one of my new clients just recently has an income goal of 2 million a year. Now, we are just starting this work together. When my clients come to me with multiples of millions as their income goal, I know there is big work to be done on the vision they have for their life and what really matters most to them before we can even start building a business that will create and sustain it. I call this process, I've mentioned already, pre-business strategy, and it's a strategic imperative because it makes sure that you create a business that helps you create and sustain the life you really want. But listen, that's not to say there's a cap on your income goals. You can go on to make as much money as you like. My first client, he can make 100 million at some point during the course of his lifetime. Absolutely. My second client, absolutely. She can hit a $2 million target. Now, I love money. It's a beautiful thing. And I don't want you to buy into all this BS that we get in the blogosphere, that your net worth is your self-worth, because that is not true at all. Yes, money is an exchange of value, but only to the degree that it feels good making it, earning it, creating it, charging it. And it's enough for you, and it helps you create and sustain the life that you want. Have I said that enough times already in this episode? I hope so. Once you know what you need to live the way that you want and hit that income, then the sky is the limit for you. And believe me, you will get to that place sooner than you think with this very strategy. And the most beautiful thing about that idea will be this. You will be able to make high integrity decisions in every single area of your life because you're no longer motivated purely by making money to survive or to get to a level of living a lifestyle that will thrill you. But, it's also the goals that fuel the income goals, like wanting millions because you want a beachfront property or because you want to travel first class all the way. But listen, if you think about a beachfront property in Mexico, you could buy land and build your own dream property on the beach, your own dream mansion on the beach with a 360 degree panoramic view for probably less than $50,000. You don't need $2 million for that. And I just looked up prices from London to Sydney, return first class on Emirates. Now, it's April 2019 at the time of recording. And that return trip, Sydney to London, is first class is just under £8,000. Now, even if you did that 4 times a year, you still wouldn't need to earn $2 million to do it. So think about it, okay? Think about what you really want. Think about the life you want to create. Think outside the bubble you're currently in. Maybe even outside of the location or the culture or the obligations that now actually are like big handcuffs around your freedom potential without you even realizing it. How do you really want to live and work right now? Not when you've made 2 million or 100 million sometime in the future. And what will how you want to live right now actually cost you? Get some numbers down on paper. Do the maths. This is so powerful. Then you can start to build a business that generates the enough income that you really need to live and work on your own terms now. You can always up-level that vision every time you do this exercise and up-level the goal or the income goal every time you hit an income milestone. You can go on to generate 100 million in your company, like I already said, but with the added benefit of not having to sacrifice life right now to create it. So liberate yourself from striving towards goals that aren't aligned with what you truly want. And then you'll be on track to build a freedom business right now and enjoy it sooner than you think. So in the podcast pack, worksheet 4.1 is phenomenal. I call it smashing through your glass bubble so that you can make sure your biggest life and business goals are aligned, truly aligned with the bigger picture vision of the life that will truly light you up and really excite the crap out of you. It is so, so cool. If you don't have the podcast study pack, you can grab your copy now by heading over to the show notes at stephanieholland.co/20 and using the code podcast at checkout for 50% off. You get the digital copy of the book, The Freedom Philosophy that inspired this whole series, the workbook that has a worksheet for each podcast episode, and the audiobook so you can listen on the go, as well as a ton of other resources. Thank you for being here. I am so excited to talk to you next week about how you can create the best version of your premium life right now by creating your vision 3 years ahead. Because life, my friend, is short, yes, but I always say it's actually too long not to start living your best version of it right now. Have a good one. I'll see you next week. Bye.